Atlanta isn't what we thought. It's not what they promised the city is. Do not enter the city.
The Walking Dead. This big household name began as a comic, which was first released in October 2003, and has been producing more editions monthly ever since. It's been adapted to both a television series and video game. No, not this one. Telltales of The Walking Dead, alongside the original comic, and AMC's television show, are both award-winning and critically acclaimed. Adaptations are not the easiest thing to do. Many a failed game has come from great intellectual properties, even some from Telltale. Why have the narrative of The Walking Dead been so successful in translation? In this video, I plan to break down The Walking Dead universe, its essence, detail the attention to media in each respective narrative, and compare the comic's narrative form to its adaptation, in hopes of pinpointing why The Walking Dead has been so successfully adapted to both television and video game format. As a warning, there will be spoilers ahead. The Walking Dead as a whole is dark. It's grim, gritty, holds a sense of depth and realism. Nobody knows what started it all. The dead started coming back to life. As society crumbles, the world becomes desolate, and mankind has been spread thin and forced into hiding. Everybody knows they will die. It's just a matter of when. The past becomes nostalgia. The prospects of the future are limited to day-by-day decisions. The Walking Dead aren't the zombies, they're the survivors. These people have been thrust into hell, where death is always an alternative. In these grim times, it shifts individualism into a sense of oneness. Each survivor embodies the human race, struggling hard to land on some stable footing, even if only for a moment. The people are what make the stories worth hearing. They're both the biggest threat and the only thing to cling to. The driving force in each story has been achieving a sense of normalcy in the world we live in, and surviving for other survivors. Maintaining and building relationships is also a strong theme. When talking about the creation of the series, writer Robert Kirkman had this to say.
The cool thing about zombie films is that, they're nice, riveting, pieces of entertainment. But at the end of it, they just kind of end. I always wanted to see what happened next. Morals get twisted, and people's actions that they would think are normally wrong end up being the right thing to do.
In order to get into adaptation, we need to talk about the original form. The comic is the origin of the Walking Dead universe. Everything starts here in the comic. Situations are dark, like the visuals, and hold a lot of weight. The story follows police officer Rick Grimes as he wakes up in a hospital after being shot in the line of duty. He's been out for some time and begins to stumble around. The hospital is empty and has been locked down. When he gets outside, he discovers the dead are walking. Rick heads off into the city in search of his wife and son. Eventually, Rick finds them with a group of survivors, including his partner, Shane. While the world of zombies, or walkers as they call them, causes trouble throughout, the biggest conflicts are interpersonal. Friends become enemies quickly. Everything happens quickly. The comic is fast-paced and chaotic, developing and ending new story arcs rapidly. The comic was discovered by Frank Darabont.
Browsing, I had not heard of Kirkman, I had not heard of his comic book. I walked in and I saw the first trade paperback. I was immediately drawn to it because it's zombies right up my alley, And by the following day, I was calling my agent saying, can we try to get the rights to this? Can we look into this? Because I think this could be a very, very good show for television.
When it came to adaptation, Kirkman wasn't too worried.
I came at The Walking Dead very open to them putting, dogs in the cheat lasers at their eyes or whatever they wanted to. And I knew that I would have a certain amount of ability to prevent that from happening. And it's kind of
As Shane sobs and yells maniacally, "Prepared to fire," Rick's 12-year-old son shoots him in the neck. We barely get to meet Shane, and all this narrative is revealed to us moments before he's killed. The TV show instead holds on to him for 2 seasons, playing with the awkward love triangle. The show creates new narrative opportunities for Shane's downward spiral. He nearly rapes Lori, contemplates shooting Rick, shoots Otis in the leg to outrun the walkers, plans to take off with Andrea, and even murders a teenager in order to get Rick alone in the woods. The show dives deep into its own plot lines and ultimately resolves similarly to the comic, bringing forward momentum to the narrative. By keeping Kirkman heavily involved in the writing, the show maintained the same purpose and weight, with different versions of what could have happened presented in a filmic manner. The show captures the gore and horror of the comic when it has to, but decidedly keeps its focus on the human element, making this show not just another zombie flick.
I guess I'm losing hope. Like I said, it's all about slim chances now. And slim chance is better than none.
AMC's translation was successful, but more surprising is Telltale's adaptation. Video game adaptations are notoriously bad. When you're dealing with a visual medium, the technique is show, don't tell. With the added element of participant interactivity, it becomes do, don't show. The game presents you with the Walking Dead universe, but rather than seeing how characters respond to different circumstances, the game allows you to put yourself in those shoes.
The Walking Dead universe is a thing where you see this, you've seen pretty much every minute of that story. And I don't think the way the show works is we're changing things up, so you're seeing a different kind of story. But this game is very much set in the universe of the comic series. And if you were playing with Rick, you would basically be doing the same stuff, or you would be playing some kind of BS game that doesn't really have anything to do with the comics.
Why are so many games so linear? Well, this is a matter of budget and scalability. Let's imagine you create a story that players can play through, visualize as points line by line. You go from point to point, channel down narrow paths, and choice is nowhere to be found. Now let's say at the beginning of this game, you allow players to make a choice. This choice fundamentally changes the entire story, since you can't simply use the story you made for the first path. You need to create the content for an entirely different story. Now imagine a game riddled with choices. You end up with a tangled narrative web that is unwieldy to design and create meaningful story out of it. Often, games that offer you more freedom offer less explicit narrative. That's to say, writers didn't sit down for hours generating hundreds of thousands of storylines that you go through, but rather let you create your own story through implicit narrative. Tangents aside, Telltale actually creates a relatively linear game, where you still feel like you have an impact. The trick here being the illusion of choice. The game is structured around a linear narrative, where choices send you deviating for varying amounts of time. While some of the choices you make change something for a large period of time, others just make some text appear on screen. It's not always obvious which choices are which, and thus the illusion is upheld. Starting the game off, we play as Lee Everett, who's on his way to jail for a murder.
Well, I reckon you didn't do it then.
Why do you say that?
You know, I've driven a bunch of fellas down to this prison. Usually it's about now I get the I didn't do it.
The conversation is interrupted when the officer crashes the car into a walker on the road, leaving Lee unconscious. Being chased by the Walking Dead, Lee hops over a fence into a nearby yard. After searching through the house for anybody who could help, he hears a voice on a hand radio. We're introduced to Clementine, a 9-year-old girl who's waiting in her treehouse for her parents to come home. While all signs point to her parents being dead, you help her survive and try to find her parents, traveling throughout Alabama, grouping up with strangers along the way. The core of the game's interaction is dealing with tough choices that will inevitably upset somebody in your group, or could bring negative consequences down the line.
Not his It doesn't care that you're an old man, doesn't care that you have a family, it does not care. So to be true to the license, we have to acknowledge that.
The game is divided much like the TV show into episodes and seasons. Season 1 is released. It's 5 episodes, each of which takes about 3 hours to play through. At the end of each episode, the game shows you a list of key moral choices you've made during the episode and compares it to the choices of other players. While it's a bit immersion breaking, this allows you to justify or question your choices, or perhaps the choices of others. Telltale's game draws heavily from the comic, both visually and thematically, but really becomes its own with the added level of interactivity. By using the illusion of choice, the designers can craft a cinematic quality narrative where you feel your choices have impact. It also allows you to step into the dark and see where you surprise yourself. Overall, The Walking Dead questions the humanity of those involved. It asks you what it means to be human and how easily it can all be taken away from you. Both adaptations successfully encompass this.
It goes to show, people will up and go mad when they believe their life is over.
No man is an island, entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less, as well as if a promontory were, as well as if a manner of thy friends